Brothers and sisters, welcome back. This is the In My Grow Show. I'm your host, Alex. And as always, I want to thank you for taking the time to hang out, man. I truly do appreciate it. Now, before I get to any part of the show, I want to talk a little bit about last week's show. So I tried to go camping and record a show at the same time. It didn't quite work out the way I expected it to. There was a lot of wind noise. And at some point, even my microphone fell out of the audio, so I was just recording off of the phone microphone, which really made the wind noise bad. So because of that, at Rhonda710 asked me if I could just go over the IPM question that was asked, and I gave my advice on. So yeah, a little later I am going to go over that. But before I get to that, I want to talk about a few things. First, I'm going to do a couple of like product reviews. The first one is this Sana Sleep. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, I'll put up a better picture of it. And they are, let's see, it says here, 6 capsule travel pack. And they are CBD THC infused capsules. It says here, per capsule, CBD 10 milligrams, CBN 6 milligrams, and THC 3 milligrams. And let me take one of these out so we can get a better look at them. There you go. They're these tiny little capsules, little gel caps. Now me myself, I don't really struggle to fall asleep. I struggle to stay asleep. And I really like these. I really like these CBD, these cannabis capsules, because they don't make me sleep longer, but they do make me get a more restful night's sleep. A lot of really good CBD products help me do that. They make me feel just a lot more rested. And that's what these Sana Sleep capsules really help me do. And what I really liked about them was that they don't give me that like foggy head feeling, that foggy brain feeling in the morning after you take like a sleep aid. Sometimes you'll feel that, or at least I do. This didn't have that. This didn't make that happen for me. Or this didn't make that happen to me, I should say. So yeah, those are cannabis infused capsules from Sana Sleep. And I got these, and these were samples that were sent over from Sespe Creek Collective. Speaking of Sespe Creek, I got my new tester pack this past week. They sent over some pretty cool things. Let's see. The first one is this Bloom Farms Highlighter. It is a Blueberry Muffin Indica Dominant. It is a vape cartridge. Now, the Blueberry Muffin strain itself, the flower strain, is a cross between the blueberry and the purple panty dropper. Hey, that's a pretty good name, huh? Purple panty dropper. The flavor, you know what? The flavor from this vape pen kind of stayed pretty true to the flower itself. You know, it did have that blueberry, that really sugary, sweet kind of pastry taste, and like a little bit of vanilla right towards the end of the exhale. I liked it. It was pretty nice. It was pretty nice. The one thing that I especially liked about this was that it didn't really like make me, you know, it really didn't wreak havoc on my throat. Usually vape cartridges, they really make me cough. They make my throat really raw. Part of that could be, or not could be, mostly part of that is because I get really greedy and take a really big hit, and it just wrecks my throat and I forget about it. But yeah, that's what happens most of the time. This didn't have that happen to me. So that was a nice little bonus, and this does have an 80 or an 81% THC. It was a pretty decent high. It was an okay high. I don't suggest, if you're new to cannabis, to really try this one, this Blueberry Muffin, only because I feel like that 80% THC might make you a little anxious, and yeah, a little paranoid. Maybe. It didn't make me feel like that. But, you know, usually vape cartridges don't make me feel like that anyways. So yeah, if you really like a nice smooth vape cartridge, if you want to try it, this Bloom Farms Blueberry Muffin is pretty good, man. Let's see, what else did I get in my pack? They also sent over these. These are Kiva Lost Farm Cannabis Infused Gummies. These are really cool. I like these. I'll talk more about those next week. What else did I get in my bag? Oh yeah, you know what else I got? Which was really cool is that they sent over more of these raw flower brands, whole flower THC capsule sativa 25 milligrams. If you listen to the review that I did, you know that these really helped me for my migraines, and that's what I'm going to keep them for. They sent over a few extra ones, like 3 or 4 of them, which was great. Thank you very much, Sesame Creek, for sending that over. I appreciate that. That is, as I was saying, going to go towards when I get migraines, man. These help me better, or as good as any pharmaceuticals that I take, except without the nauseating feeling that the pharmaceuticals give me. So that is all that I have in this tester pack this time. Now, that's a lot of noise. Now let's move on to the, wait. Am I getting ahead of myself? I was going to say, let's do the strain of the week, but you know what? I want to talk about something before that. So I was talking to a buddy of mine. Me and my buddy Lewis were having this conversation about California cannabis. And so California's had medical cannabis since 1996, which is about 24 years. Right? Yeah. Right? 24, carry the 5. 24 years. And it's really weird that having medical cannabis for that long, California doesn't have employee protection for patients like some other states do. Some other states that have had medical cannabis for a lot less. And what that basically means is that if you're a cannabis patient and let's say you get drug tested at work and you come back dirty for cannabis, because you're a registered cannabis patient, you cannot be fired. They can't retaliate against that because of it. So, you know, your job's pretty safe in that aspect. But California doesn't have that protection, and which tripped me out and then kind of, I don't know, bugged me a lot. I'm starting to wonder, I started to wonder, like, what do we need to do to change that? I mean, is it an amendment? Do we have to vote on it again? Can we just petition some kind of, I don't know, can we get some lobbyists to be on our side? You know what? I'm going to ask Patrick Doggett. He might have a better idea. Or maybe reach out to Jay Lederman. You know what? I'm going to ask both of them. Both of them, come on, man. Between both of those, you know, brainiacs of lawyers, I know we can come up with a way to actually change that. Because how is it? I don't understand. How is it that California has it for 24 years? One of the first states. I don't know if it was the first state to have medical. I think Alaska was. Could be wrong. Anyways, don't understand why California doesn't have those protections for employees, for patients. So we'll check it out. I will let you know what I learn and what we should do about it. All right, now let's do the strain of the week. And today I'm going to talk about the gasoline. Now on the description for this particular flower, which was put together by Loudpack, it says that this is a cross between the ChemDawg and the OG Kush, and is sativa dominant. The reason I say that is because the internet and classically the gasoline is said to be a phenotype of the OG Kush and an indica dominant. Now, this flower did have like a wet dirt and pine cone kind of taste to it and smell to it from the jar. There was this like really sweet, sugary, overripe fruit taste at the end of the exhale, you know, that I really enjoyed. Now, this was a 21% THC, but you know what? It wasn't that heavy to me. You know, it was a nice daytime high for me. You know, I didn't find it too distracting as far as like when I get high, sometimes I just can't focus on work, focus on what I'm doing. I just get distracted by everything else. Didn't have that problem with this. It was a great looking flower. You know, it had this really nice, like not so much an olive green, but like a frosty green color to it. Really nice, really nice flower. The only criticism I had is that it was dry when it came out of the pack. It didn't come in a jar. It came in a little package, a little like Ziploc bag. But that's really the only criticism, was that it's a little dry. That was it. Rehydrated it, smoked great. And that, brothers and sisters, is the strain of the week. That is the gasoline. And the strain of the week was sponsored by 101 Hemp, the makers of premium full-spectrum raw CBD oil products. Now, me personally, I take my CBD daily. Actually, I take my CBD twice a day. Once in the morning before I go to work, and once about 4 or 5 o'clock just before dinner. But, you know, they've got all my CBD needs covered, man. They got tinctures, they got the topicals, they've even got the raw relief hand sanitizer. So go over to 101hemp.org, order yourself some raw CBD oil products, And don't forget to use coupon code IMGS25 so you can get 25% off of that order. All right, now let's talk a little bit about IPM and spider mites. Again, this was a question that I talked about a bit last week, but because of the poor sound quality, at Rhonda710 asked me if I could just go over those notes really quickly again. I got no problem with that. And this was asked on Instagram by @LoneStar_Grow. Now, I don't have the question right up in front of me, but I'll put it on the screen for you. And basically what he's wondering is if there's any kind of foliar spray that's good to use on your flowering cannabis plants for spider mites. You know, several different, different people have had different successes with, certain foliar sprays like enzymes, stuff like that. Or what is it? Dr. Zymes, I believe. Now, spider mites are pretty common garden pest, but they are easy to miss when we use sticky traps, and mostly because they don't really fly, they crawl. And for me, I found that those yellow sticky cards don't really give me a really clear picture of the pest pressures of the spider mites in my garden. What really helps instead for me that I've found is just planting regular bush beans or like green beans, because the spider mites are really attracted to those green beans, and they're more attracted to the green beans than they are to actual cannabis. So they're basically a good trap plant. And again, they help me really monitor my pest pressure of spider mites. And since I keep them in party cups and like solo cups or really small 1-gallon containers, it's really easy for me if they, if there's too infested or I feel there's just too many of them, I can just get rid of that particular bush bean plant, that particular bean plant, throw it out, put a new one in there, and, just keep it going that way. That helps me, like I was saying, better than yellow sticky traps for spider mites. Now, I'm a really big fan of predators for my garden, and one of a really common predator for spider mites are ladybugs. The only thing about ladybugs is that they are seasonal. They're really easy to get in the late spring, early summer, even throughout the summer. But after that, you really can't get them in the wintertime. Another thing that I use are lacewing eggs or lacewing larvae. I'm really lucky enough to have Rincon Vitova insectary close to me that I can pretty much pick them up anytime. But yeah, those are my basic go-tos for predators for spider mites. Now, there are a few other predators that you can use. One of them is also a predator mite. That's called the Phytocialis persimilis. There's also the Amblicius californicus. And there's a predatory midge called the Filtiella carsuga. The only thing about that midge fly, and I'm pretty sure I, again, butchered most of those names. Now, a couple of really quick notes about that midge is that it does need a high pest density and high humidity really to thrive and survive. So keep that in mind if you're trying to use that particular midge fly. Now, me personally, I don't like to spray any kind of foliar spray on my flowering plants, and that's mostly because I feel like that extra moisture really could help certain funguses and mold take hold on my flower and just wind up causing more problems than it's worth. But again, certain people have had, success with certain kinds of foliar sprays. I'm not saying it's not possible. Friends of mine do have pretty good success with pyrethrum foggers. They just pretty much advise me not to use them, or they don't use them anyways after like week 2 of flower, and that's because the fogger, could end up leaving a little bit of a taste behind on those trichomes. Now, one thing that I did read in one of Jorge Cervantes's books, I went back and just read something real quick while I was putting this together again. Was that he suggests you can also do like a hydrogen peroxide dip after harvest, just to wash off any kind of actual spider mites, spider mite poop, or some webbing. And that is 30 milliliters of hydrogen peroxide per gallon of water. And you just, slowly, lightly dip it in once, maybe twice. I don't suggest you do it too, vigorously, up and in and out, thinking that that's going to scrub off any debris. And that's only because I'm afraid that with that kind of, vigorous kind of putting it in and out, you're going to knock off trichome heads from your flowers. So, yeah, just, once or twice lightly is what I'd suggest. And I wouldn't worry too much about the water washing off the trichomes because trichomes are what's known hydrophobic, meaning that water won't wash them off. So, and, the last bit of advice I can give about spider mites is, if you can, break down your room and clean it. Figure out where the spider mites came from and how they wound up thriving so much, and then fix that issue because, that's part of the IPM, the integrated pest management, is just, keeping a regiment, just a certain list of things that have to be taken care of and cleaned to make sure you don't get any kind of pest, not just spider mites, but all kinds. And now I want to go over just a little bit about sticky traps themselves. So I do use sticky traps, and I went over this last week. They're really good for flying insects. One of the things that I use to help make those sticky traps more attractive, because the yellow sticky traps are made for pests to attract them in a couple of different ways. One of them is that the yellow mimics basically a dying or distressed plant. Some pests are attracted to plants that are having a hard time. They're easy targets. And the other way is that other pests are attracted to just bright yellow flowers. Certain moths are attracted to bright yellow flowers. So sticky traps work pretty well in that sense. To make them more attractive for certain pests, what I do is I'll use essential oil and, some cotton balls. The thinking is that certain essential oils are attractive to certain kinds of pests. The terpenes in the air make it more attractive, like cinnamon oil will attract thrips and leaf miners and Japanese beetles better. Melissa oil will attract fungus gnats, again, thrips, horseflies, and deer flies. Lemon oil will attract fungus gnats, mealybugs, scales, thrips, Japanese beetles. And peppermint oil will attract cucumber beetles. So again, I'll put 1 or 2 drops on a cotton ball and stick that to the sticky trap. And, depending on the oil, it'll help attract those particular pests. I only do 1 oil at a time. I don't kind of use all of them at once because some of them will repel certain pests. So depending on the pest pressure. And yeah, that's the best way and the best thing that I do for spider mites. So Lone Star grows. Hopefully that helps, brother. Yeah, there you go. All right, now let's do the report from the Cannabis front line. And I'm going to do another quick recap of the election, but not of the results of everything, of just what I missed here locally. Now, the first one I want to talk about is Measure G, which is a marijuana business tax for the city of Ojai, and that authorizes a 3% tax on marijuana businesses. So that passed with a 69% approval rate. So it looks like cannabis products are about to be taxed a lot higher in Ojai again. And it looks like those products are going to get more expensive to us, to you and me, the consumer. I don't know how that helps really, making cannabis more expensive helps the legal market. Doesn't that just drive people to the illegal market? I think so. Okay, what's next? Now, the next one is Measure O for Ventura County, California, and it authorizes marijuana cultivation and distribution with limitations of 500 acres for cultivation of general marijuana and 100 acres of indoor nursery. Let's see, and permits for sales between distributors and a tax of 4% of gross receipts of general cultivation and 1% for gross receipts of nursery cultivation. Okay. So that's basically saying is that they're allowing the county to let there be cannabis cultivation in unincorporated parts of the county. And that passed by a percentage of 56, almost 57% of the voting public said yes. So it looks like we are going to be able in the county, in the unincorporated parts of the county, to have cannabis cultivation. And the last local ballot measure was Measure I, which is for the city of Ventura, of San Buenaventura, and they're asking also for a tax increase. Let's see. Measure I authorizes a tax on marijuana businesses of 8% of gross receipts. Holy cow. For retail marijuana businesses, 4% for other marijuana businesses, and $10 per square foot of cultivation. Well, holy cow, they're really trying to plug some economic holes here with cannabis, man. Up to 8%. That's going to get passed on to the consumer. Yes, weed in Ventura is about to get a lot more expensive, folks. I mean, what do you do? Do you buy less weed? Do you go to the legacy market? What do you do? I don't know what to tell you. I'd like to tell you, yeah, man, stay with the legal market. They're doing good things. You can get it, tested and you know what's going in it. Yeah, all of that is true. All of that is positive. All of that is correct. But if it's more expensive, less people, it's available to less people. How does that help accessibility? I don't know, but that is, those are some of the local ballot measures, man, that actually passed and went through. Now, the first story on today's Cannabis Frontline does come from the Ganjapreneur, and it's entitled, Michigan's First Tribal-Owned Cannabis Business Begins Operations. Starts off, Michigan's first tribal-owned cannabis business has opened on the Upper Peninsula. Owned by Bay Mills Indian Community, Northern Lights Cannabis Company aims to provide jobs and opportunity for a local area, said Bay Mills Chairman Brian Newland. Newland told WJMN that he hopes the increased number of jobs will attract tribal members back home who have left for other jobs or to pursue higher education. So I think that's really cool. I think it's really important that, nations have the sovereignty enough to start their own cannabis industries, cannabis brands, cannabis companies. From what I've read, I know some Indian tribes have struggled to get that set up just because of the type of oversight in their state. I mean, we like to believe that Indians are sovereign nations, that those tribes are sovereign nations, that land is sovereign, they can do whatever they like with that land. That's not completely true, especially when it comes to cannabis. It's turning out, or at least it seems like, and I don't know all the details, man, about everything about this, but it seems like at some point in the process, those tribes have to get the okay from the state they live in to have legal cannabis on their land. So that's why I really like this whole idea of the Northern Lights Company up in Michigan. Good for them. And I hope it works out for all the other tribes also trying to get cannabis labels or cannabis brands for their people. The other article comes from the Growth Op, and it is entitled, Hong Kong Teens Are Importing Cannabis Products at Alarming Rates. And this was put together by, it doesn't say. All right, but it starts off, custom officials in Hong Kong are sounding the alarm about teenagers importing cannabis and cannabis products into the country. Over the past 4 months, several teens have been arrested in connection to 45 million Hong Kong dollars, that is 7.6 million American dollars, worth of illicit drugs that were brought into the country by air. By weight, that is 380 kilograms of drugs have been seized over the past 4 months, which is a 211% increase from the first half of the year, a senior custom official said. During that same time period, 5 secondary students ages 15 to 17 have been arrested. Custom officials posed as couriers and made deliveries to the teens who were arrested after allegedly collecting the illicit parcels. Wait a minute. Doesn't that kind of sound like entrapment? It kind of sounds like entrapment, right? They were posing as people with packages. Said, hey, I don't know. Let's read on. Assistant Superintendent Yuen Wei Ming of Customs Airport Command told the paper that nearly 90% of the seizures this year have originated from Canada and the United States. You bastards. No, I'm just kidding. Last year, custom officials also noted a spike in cannabis coming into the country and pointed the finger at Canada for an alleged 500% increase in cannabis seizures. By legalizing the plant, critics argued cannabis has changed the public's perception of cannabis in Hong Kong. Officials recently issued an alert reminding Hong Kong residents that they should not agree to receive mailed goods or others that have, or others, and that they should and that they should pay attention to the ingredients before ordering products online. According to custom officials, a majority of the drugs seized were cannabis buds, followed by herbal cannabis and cannabis products. Isn't cannabis bud and herbal cannabis the same thing? At least it is to me. Don't know. Okay, let's see. Though drug crimes in Hong Kong carry a severe penalty, including the possibility of life imprisonment, the tide may be starting to turn, however slowly. Earlier this year, the country's first CBD cafe opened, selling customers a variety of drinks and snacks infused with cannabidiol. Well, you know what? It sounds like a little bit of three things are happening in Hong Kong. Yes, people are drug trafficking more, But it also sounds like it's teenagers having friends sending them stuff as well just to party. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe those teenagers are also selling. Very possible. And it also sounds like, you know, older adults or adults are ordering products from, you know, Canada and the United States, not really paying attention to the cannabinoid count or being confused about maybe THC or CBD. Don't know. Maybe they're not confused. Maybe they just want those THC products. Yeah, and it sounds like those people who are, you know, ordering for, you know, maybe paying, they're getting caught up in the whole illegality or drug trafficking thing about, you know, Hong Kong, since it is still China. And you know what? That's a pretty good argument to be made for decriminalizing as far as for personal use. You know, you may have these adults in China that are ordering these products, getting caught up in drug trafficking for really innocent reasons, you know, for just not really knowing or, yeah, just want a little relief. But, you know, I'm all for decriminalizing in that aspect. But, yeah, anyways. So, yeah, there you go, folks. As always, that is the report from the Cannabis Frontline, and there are links in the show notes so you can read all of these articles at your leisure. Oh, wait, there's one more article, you know what, that I wanted to mention. I'm not going to read it, but I just wanted to mention it and put it in your mind so you know that it's out there. So I came across this article in Project CBD called Cannabis and Schizophrenia, A Conspiracy of Causality. And it really goes into depth and really talks about remember how last year in 2019, there was a report that came out that associated cannabis use with schizophrenia. That heavy cannabis use or use of concentrates, of heavy use of concentrates was causing people to become schizophrenic, or people who, you know, were maybe on the border of being schizophrenic, like push them over the edge. You know, while that's very possible, it's very true that there is some linkage. This article really does a good job about explaining it better. So the link is in the show notes. I do suggest you read it, you know, when you got the time, and then read all the way to the bottom of that article to the footnote, because the footnote really explains it a little further as far as how they're trying to change the perception, or actually explain better the science of that article that came out last year as far as linking psychosis and cannabis use. So yeah, man, check it out when you get a chance. Again, those links are in the show notes, so you can read them at your leisure. Well, mis amigos, my friends, that's the end of the show today, man. That's the end of my notes. Again, I want to thank you for taking the time to hang out, man. Truly do appreciate it. Don't forget, if you have a question or a comment about this episode, you can send me an email. That is inmygrow@gmail.com. You can also send me an email there if you have an idea for a topic. If you have an idea for a topic, you can also find us on social media. That is at InMyGrowShow. And as always, leave a rating and a review wherever you listen to podcasts. Go over to inmygrow.com. Take a look at the website. You know, subscribe to the website. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. That is youtube.com/InMyGrowShow. And then do the show a favor. Go to patreon.com/InMyGrow and donate $1 to the show. Just, you know, $1. Really easy. Really inexpensive. As always, if you are a cannabis company and want to advertise to our worldwide audience, you can send us an email as well. That is inmygrow@gmail.com. What else? What else? Is that it? I want to thank everybody who has subscribed to all the channels, all the platforms. Do appreciate that. And yeah, well, that's it, folks. You know, I love you all very much. It's almost Thanksgiving. And remember to always grow, learn, and teach.